And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this third segment, we are going to do a quick recap of all of the NBA games that went down yesterday. So I said in the second segment that I was going to rip the Band-Aid off quickly, and I am. The Brooklyn Nets, they played the Detroit Pistons, and they lost! Those of you on the podcast that are like the audio listeners can't see, but I am absolutely, like, my hands are on my face right now. It is the worst team in the NBA. The Brooklyn Nets lost. I don't understand it. I don't. I really don't. Fire this coach. Fire this coach, please. It's not looking good for Brooklyn. The season is over. The season is over. Cancel it. Don't even show up to any of these games. Let Mikal Bridges get his record of like consecutive games played, and that's it. The season's over. We're done. But complete bias aside, Dennis Schroeder ended the game with 31 points. Bridges ended the game with 13 points. Shot 4 of 11 from the field. Fantastic. Lonnie Walker ended the game with 21 points and shot 8 of 18 from the field. Again, fantastic. Claxton ended the game with 15 points, 5 of 8 from the field. That is actually fantastic. And Dennis Smith Jr. shot 3 of 10 from the field. Fantastic. This Brooklyn Nets team is bad. They are way worse than what I thought. And part of that might be because we do not have a certain power forward in the lineup because he is injured yet again and taking, I don't even know what he's doing, but he's finding an excuse to not play any game whatsoever. I'm not even going to mention his name because I just want him gone, please. But with all that aside, the Pistons, they actually played very well in this game. And Jaden Ivey ended the game with 34 points. Cade Cunningham ended the game with 32 points and 11 assists. Cade Cunningham is a very good basketball player, and he's a very good point guard. It's unfortunate that he's on the Pistons. But then again, maybe it's not so unfortunate because right now the Pistons are on top of the world. They won a game. And this makes, on one end, like, I'm very, very distraught. But on the other end, it just makes the Wizards situation all that funnier because right now, the Wizards are the worst team in the Eastern Conference and the worst team in the NBA in terms of record and in general. And going back to the beginning of the season where Kyle Kuzma tweeted out, just don't be that team, it's very, very ironic now. And it's possible that, like I said in the previous podcast, it's possible that the Wizards could actually break or tie the Pistons' all-time losing streak, like the Pistons' longest losing streak, which was 28. Because right now they're on a losing streak as well. Even though the Wizards are the favorite to win in this next game against Charlotte, it would just be so funny if they don't. It would be absolutely hilarious if they don't. So I'll take a win there, just because like I want to see that matchup. The Pistons go up against the Wizards, but still, like, this is just very, very disappointing for the Brooklyn Nets, and the coach needs to be gone. He needs to be gone after this season. But I digress. The Dallas Mavericks played against the Miami Heat in a very, very intense competition. The final score was 114-108. Luka Doncic ended the game with 35 points, 11 rebounds, and 11 assists. Luka Doncic has been ridiculous on the offensive side of the ball this after this All-Star break, and this is his 4th consecutive game recording a triple-double with finishing at least with 35 points or more. And this is the longest streak in NBA history. So this kid is insane, and it's ridiculous how this team is just holding him back from being in MVP talks. Kyrie Irving, He ended the game with 23 points and shot 9 of 19 from the field. So a little bit inefficient, but again, doesn't matter. A win is a win is a win. The Miami Heat were just gaining traction because there was a lot of talk going on about playoff Jimmy Butler. I think he's a myth, personally. And it really showed tonight because he ended the game with 14 points, 6 of 12 from the field. Didn't shoot the ball as much as Terry Rozier, who ended the game with 27 points. And Duncan Robinson ended the game with 19 points. And let's see, Bam Adebayo, I almost forgot about him. He ended the game with 5 of 14 and 14 points. So not really that efficient. Do the Miami Heat have it in them to make a good, or make a deep playoff run like they've done previous years and the previous year? Not entirely sure. I don't really think so. I mean, if we're going to go off of what pattern's been and how consistent they've been, the Heat beat the Bucks, then the Bucks beat the Heat, then the Heat beat the Bucks, and now it's time for the Bucks to beat the Heat. So, if that stays true, that would be hilarious. But I'd completely there wasn't really much that needed to be said about this game. When Luka Doncic drops 35 points in a triple double, there's really nothing that you can do to stop that. Now, we were talking about the Pacers, so I might as well go ahead and talk about them losing to the Timberwolves without Karl Anthony Towns. So, Anthony Edwards ended the game with 44 points, and Rudy Gobert ended the game with 18 points and 14 rebounds. So, one thing that the Timberwolves have, if their offense isn't there, their defense is there, because Rudy Gobert has once again led a team to the number 1 ranked defense in the NBA. And this is something that the team can fall back on unlike the Pacers, where the Pacers can't necessarily fall back on defense as much as the Timberwolves. And defense was the reason why they ended up winning this game. And Tyrese Halliburton, he ended the game with 23 and 13, but he hasn't really been scoring the ball that well. He hasn't really had monster performances like he's had in the play-in tournament. But with that in mind, or the mid-season tournament, the mid-season tournament. And he shot 9 of 15 from the field. Pascal Siakam shot 10 for 20 from the field for 24 points. And everybody else shot very poorly from the field. And there was a lot of defense going on from the Timberwolves side. And it makes total sense because it's without Karl Anthony Towns, you need something to fall back on. And they had that this game. Rudy Gobert, he definitely is proving his value. He's in the running for Defensive Player of the Year alongside with Victor Wembanyama. This has sort of been the value part that Draymond Green was talking about and that I was talking about on my previous podcasts. And it really shows because the defense that he played, it led to wins. As opposed to Victor Wembanyama, to the defense where he plays, where it doesn't necessarily lead to wins. Again, not entirely his fault, but it's just something to think about. And it's just because Rudy Gobert, this isn't the first time that he's led a team to the number 1 ranked defense. It really shows that he has some sort of value on the defensive side of the ball. But going on to some more games that ended up going down, the Toronto Raptors played against the Phoenix Suns, and the Suns ended up winning 120 to 113. Looking at the box scores, Grayson Allen also broke the Phoenix Suns record for most threes hit in the first quarter with 7 of them. So he was absolutely insane just in the first quarter, because the rest of the game, he only made 1 3-pointer. Yeah, not very nice. He went from going 7 for 7 to 1 for 7. And I mean, in the end of the day, it didn't really matter because he ended the game with 26 points and he did what he needed to do. But it just goes to show you sometimes you could be on fire, and then sometimes when you need to hit the shots later in the game, you just you can't, and you need defense, something to fall back on. Kevin Durant, but then again, being the Phoenix Suns, maybe you just have way too much offense to fall back on, because Kevin Durant ended the game with 35 points, 11 of 19 from the field, and Bradley Beal ended the game with 20 points, 8 for 16 from the field. And Bol was also made an appearance, and the game 5 of 7 from the field, 1 for 1 from 3, and their team as a whole shot 42% from 3. Now the Raptors, they also are. It's a bit concerning for Phoenix because the Raptors, they didn't have Scotty Barnes in this game, and the fact that this game was somewhat competitive towards the end, really it does not make any sense if you are the Phoenix Suns. They should be winning by a lot more. Then again, it's probably could be a result of their lack of defense, the fact that they allowed teams to score a lot of points, and they sort of expect that to cancel. Similar to the Pacers, they sort of expect their scoring to cancel out. The Suns don't have Devin Booker, so you could argue that they were also shorthanded, but they also have so many other players off of the bench that it doesn't really feel like they're shorthanded, if that makes sense. But I digress. This team, right now, they're fighting to hold the 6th seed in the Western Conference. They play the Boston Celtics tomorrow at 8:30, so we'll see exactly just where they stand. If they're able to actually beat the Celtics, then maybe my opinion on Phoenix will change just a little bit. But as of right now, I really think that they need defense to fall back on. That's just me. Now, the next game on the list is the Kings going up against the Spurs. Now, the Kings ended up winning 131-129, and it was a great game from De'Aaron Fox, who I think is a better point guard than Tyrese Halliburton. De'Aaron Fox ended the game with 33 points. Sabonis ended the game with a near triple-double, 31 points, 17 rebounds, 9 assists. And it was a great closing minute to this game. De'Aaron Fox, he didn't shoot that efficient from the field. But, when you get 33 points, I really don't think you can ask much for one of your players. Maybe, take fewer shots to get those points. But other than that, a win is a win is a win is a win. And looking at the box scores, Devin Vassell ended the game with 30 points. And there was no Victor Wembanyama in this game. And the fact that they made the game close without Victor Wembanyama is very, very confusing. Because what on earth, what is that? That does not make any sense. But then again, maybe the team just doesn't really like playing with Victor. I've always had that theory, that the team for some reason is I feel like they're jealous of Victor, and it might not be true. That's just my opinion, and that's what I've seen from them on the court, because they're really reluctant to pass him the ball sometimes. But they ended up making the game close against a very competitive team, so props to them. They are the worst team in the Western Conference, however, they're still trying to rebuild, and we'll just see how the rebuild goes, but Victor Wembanyama is definitely worth all of the hype. And with that is the end of the NBA recap, so I'm going to go ahead and reveal what the 4th segment is, and that is going to be some hot takes. Now, I'm going to look at some hot takes about every single NBA team, so that might be a much longer segment than this one, so I will be right back after this short break.